Hello mom friends, welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to talk all things homecoming skirts. So since Ryan and I started our YouTube channel, we have gotten lots of questions that revolve around how we make our homecoming skirts. So I thought what we'd do is let's just devote an entire video to that. And I'm going to do all the sizes that we use in our business. That way, if you're a DIY crafter, hopefully this video will help you with whatever size mum or garter you are making. And then for my homecoming business owners, hopefully it will give you some ideas of how you can use this in your business. And just note, this is not something that Ryan and I came up with. We actually saw it from another mum friend. A lot of our mum friends use these, basically these strips to put your skirts instead of the round backers. And this is just a variation of how we use it in our business. And then of course we will make a homecoming skirt and a homecoming garter skirt. So hopefully that will give you just some ideas. And then if one of these doesn't fit, I want to show you how we came about finding these links so that you can adapt it to whatever you need. So let's get started. I also wanted to let you know that I'm going to do a blog post all about homecoming skirts as well, if you prefer it in written format or just refer back to, and it may even have a little bit more details than this video. So I'll put that down in the link below. And also as a reminder, if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, I'll put that link down below as well if you want to be notified when we post new blog posts. So let's get started. So now these of course are laminated because these are our templates. That's not something that you would need to do. We just use basically basic heavyweight cardstock. And those of you know Ryan and I are scrapbookers. This is not a cardstock that I'm going to be picky on the texture or anything like that. I'm more concerned about the weight, and because it's just going to be a simple strip. I buy these on Amazon in like 200 bulk packs, and I'll put this down below. They end up being about 7 cents a pack, and I can do multiple strips on them based on the length and all that. So just an FYI on that. But I'm going to go and use my templates just so I can kind of have a reference here to tell you. So for our 6.5 inch, this is going to be a single mum or garter that you use a 6.5 inch flower, and we're going to use a 7-inch strip for that. And then we will move up to an 8-inch strip for our 7.5 inch singles and our double verticals. That's the double that the flowers are on top of each other, because the strip and the width of the skirt is going to be the same. And then for this 9-inch one, this is very common for us. This is our 9.5 inch single. We also use it for our deluxe triple. That's actually something that Ryan and I changed this year, is we tried to narrow down the number of templates that we had so that we could prep a little bit better. Just a tip for my homecoming business owners. Of course, DIY crafters, you're just going to pick the one that's good for you. But it's a good example. I went ahead and pulled a 9.5 inch single for you, and I was going to show you kind of how we came to this 9.5. We're going to take this strip once the skirt and braids and everything are on it, and we're just going to basically line it up right about here. And so as you can see, it's going to clear the backer, so it's going to be wider than the backer, but it's not going to go past those loops so that you won't see it from the front. And I'll show you, it makes it much easier to just apply this strip than trying to line everything up. But this is what all of our braids and all of our skirts will go on. As you can see, I have it turned not correctly, but it's a circle, so it really doesn't matter. It would all be the same. But what Ryan and I did this year is we decided, you know what, we think that this will work for our deluxe triple as well. And so I was going to pull a deluxe triple for you so that you could see it and see where you put it. And for those of you that have watched our triple video, you know what these pipe cleaners are all about. If you've not, I'll put a link up above and you can watch it afterwards. But basically, if you see, because the triple is basically going to be the same. Just a note, I forgot to say, we use 7-inch backers. Round ones to make all of our things, and I actually will go into a little bit more detail. If you want to know like the width and dimensions of those, you can go to that blog post and I will put them there. But basically this is the same width as a single on this part of it, and so we're going end up placing this strip basically about where right where those pipe cleaners are. So what this allowed us to do is it allowed us to use the same skirt and prep the same skirt whether we get a deluxe triple or a single 9.5. But for those of you, after I go through these widths, if you don't think these widths are going to work for you, if you're wanting to you're making one member garter and say you bought a pre-made backer, or you already have your backer made, go ahead and measure. I would say from anywhere from about where it is all the way across. You want to at least go the width of the backer, but you can also go a little bit more past the loops, into the middle of the loops if you want, and that's going to give you a good solid width to make your little skirt strip with. So that should help you with that. I was also going to show you, this is a Supreme triple. When we get into our triples and our quads, because we want those skirts to be pretty substantial, we end up kind of putting a little angle, and I'll show you. This is a double, or this is not fit for this, but it actually could be used for it if you needed. You could go all the way up to 11 inches. But as you can see, it allows it that it kind of goes along with the angle of either the quad or the heart. And you're going to end up putting ribbon down here. And so that way, if this was to stick over just a little bit, the only thing they would see is the ribbon. And that is why you would see these at an angle. But we use this for our Supreme. We actually use 7.5 inch flowers for our Supremes and our Deluxes. We just spread them out a little bit more. The Supreme has a bigger area and bigger loops. And then our ultimate triple that we have is 12 inches is going to be if you were making a triple heart with 3 9.5s. This is probably going to be a good one for you. And then this is our double deluxe and our double horizontal, because we do have girls, we have a lot of girls now that want that double horizontal their sophomore year. I think because it gives them the width, and it's basically the same width as a quad. So we use the same thing for this. So this would be if you were using 4 7.5 in like an oval pattern, to use it that way. And then our Supreme one, we do the same thing. We use 4 7.5 spread out a little bit more with a little bit more loops, and it's going to be 16 inches. And then this is our large. This is as large as we go, which is 18 inches. And I had a very wise mom from, I think Misty from Monstrosities, gave me this tip, or gave it to a couple of our friends several years ago. And that is, if you're making a custom size, say a Texas or a very large heart or a megaphone or a paw or something like that, make it to where it is the width of one of your standard skirt strips. That way you're not having to reproduce everything. And so that's what we do. We use 18 inches for our large ultimate quad, which is going to be 4 9.5 inch flowers. It's very big. Our big 7 flower heart that we do, and also our Texas and our megaphone. So that's just a little tip for my homecoming business owners. But for those of you that are making a DIY, maybe you're making a large senior mom for the first time this year, it's all preference, but we prefer our skirts to be proportionate to that flower head. So this is probably going to give you a good idea of what kind of width that you're looking at for that. So let me get my cardstock out, and I'm just going to show you really quick how I make these. They're super simple. They're not fancy like this. Again, this is for my template, and I'll show you how I make them really, really quick, and how you can make them really quick as well and be ready to make that member garter skirt. I thought I would make the 9 inch and the 8 inch, since that's the most common that we use and probably the one a lot of you will be using, and it works out really good. So I just have an 8.5 by 11. I actually have 2 or 3 sheets here, and I'm going to cut it with my cutter, but of course you can just cut it with scissors or whatever you need, but I like using my cutter because I can do multiple sheets at one time. So basically all I do to prep it is I'm just going to go to that 9 inch mark, and while I'm doing this, I will put a chart up of all the links, and also I'll show you I combine multiple sheets, and it'll tell you how many sheets, and then when I move to chipboard versus this cardstock. So I'm going to cut it at 9 inches. And then that's going to give me actually 2 inches, and all of our strips are 2 inches wide. So then because it's an 8.5 by 11, it's going to give me to 8.5. So I'm just going to go and cut it to that. And then that's going to give me 3 sheets that I can use that are 8 inches. And then I can take my 9-inch ones and I can cut them into 2-inch strips. I also like that my cutter allows me to really get it square. But again, it doesn't have to be perfectly square. So if you're just making one of these, just choose the width that you want and cut it into your heavy cardstock just into the length, and 2 inches wide, according to that chart that's there. And then once I have these, what I do is I do feel like that because we hang all of our super plier skirts, and I want to keep them from buckling, but I don't want them to be so thick that by the time I add skirts, layers of skirt ribbon and braids, that it gets thick. So usually what I do is I just staple it on 3 sides. This is just 2 sheets, and for my 8-inch and 9-inch, I just use 2 sheets. I don't worry about stapling the bottom one because it's going to be stapled multiple times when I make that skirt, and you'll see it. And then I just have these little scrap ribbons that I keep. We use these over and over again. It's 7 inches long, and I'm just going to attach it to my skirt strip. And then I am completely ready to go. And I actually have a drawer of all these. I actually just spent one day, not a whole day, just like an hour, and I prepped all of the skirt strips that I needed for the entire, hopefully for the entire season, but at least to get us started. And so I'll show you a picture of that drawer so you can kind of see how it is. And then for my homecoming business owners, as you know, I love this stapler, but I use it so much that I also am in love with this new little automatic stapler because it's saving that repetitive motion on my wrist. And when I was prepping these, I realized that this little stapler is perfect for this because I can just go and just staple. And I just stapled all of these over and over again, and then I put the strip on there. So I hope that that will give you what you need to make your skirt strip. Just remember, it's going to be 2 inches tall, and then it's going to be whatever width according to what works with your backer. And then you'll see after 11 inches, because that's as far as I can get on this 8.5 by 11, and 12 by 12 cardstock is more expensive, but by that time I feel like I need something a little bit sturdier. So I actually have these, I believe they're 12 by 20. Let me measure them. They're 12 by 18, and I got these on Amazon, and I'll put a link down there below. And I use these for anything 12 inches and above. And so you can see I just do the same thing. I actually use my big rotary cutter. I wouldn't suggest it. It's not anything that you need to make this mum. You could even cut these with a pair of scissors. But if you're a homecoming business owner and do this a lot, I really love my doll 20-inch one because I can also cut HTV with it. So I do use this one. But you just do the same thing. And as you can see, what I did is after I cut it into 2-inch strips, then I just used my template that I already had to cut and make these ready to go. And then I just attach my ribbon on there, and I don't worry about that it's brown and it's chipboard because I'll put a picture up. We have a little box that we kind of keep, kind of is like our mum finishing off video, and you can actually see me do it in our finishing touches video. I'll put that up there as well. But what we do is we're going to also have extra ones of these that we can use, and we're going to place it on the back of that finished mum. And so like this one is 14 inches, so it works out good. I just usually take 2 of my 7-inch ones. I believe it's 14, and I'm just going to place it on the top right there. And then if I need to, I can cut these little white ones. It just depends on the mum that I'm doing. So don't worry about that this chipboard is showing. And then when you're making them, make 1 extra strip. So let's say that you're making this 9 by 2 skirt strip for your 9.5-inch single. You're going to need 3 of these. You're going to have 2 of them stapled together, and then you're going to have 1 of them that's ready to finish it off. So now let's actually get to the fun part of making the homecoming mom skirt. Okay, friends, let's start making our skirt. So we have our skirt strip. I have it here on my costumer, and I'll tell you about that in a minute while I'm making the skirt. And then I have my Bostic B8 stapler, and then also the 3/8 inch crown staples. These are the ones that Rain and I switched to that we talked to in that live. You don't have to have this. You can use any stapler, but for homecoming mom business owners, this is great for assembly. And so we're going to start with this skirt, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with 2 of the number 40, which is the 2.5 inch, and these are actually dovetailed at the bottom. I'll put a picture and also show you how we dovetail those. That's completely preference as to if you want to do that or not. But I'm going to start, and on the edge of this strip, and again going back to preference, you can decide if you want your skirt really angled out, then you can angle your ribbon out a little bit. But I am actually going to, we don't angle ours too much, just because I would say like 95% of our in our market, we're going to put a bow on it. But what I do is I put a number 40, and that's the 2.5 inch. And if you want to see more about the ribbon and the widths and all that difference, we have all that in our homecoming ultimate ribbon guide. But I'm going to put 2 on either end because that kind of balances out my skirt strip. And then I'm going to put 1 in the middle here. And once I get that done, then what we're going to do is we're going to put 2 rows of number 40 ribbon alternating back and forth. That'll give us a really good base to our skirt. And you can kind of decide how you want to do your color pattern on your skirt. It's not going to be seen as much. I just kind of try to vary it up a little bit. But back to the costumer. So this is a costumer. This is what we use to make our mom skirts and do all our assembly. It is the one thing that when homecoming business owners or people new that are wanting to start their homecoming business ask me what they should invest in, it is one of the number 1 things that I usually suggest. Now, if you're a DIY crafter and you're just making these for your kids, I still would highly recommend that you try to make your mom skirt hanging up like this. In my opinion, it's just much easier to do. But you could do it with a command strip on a door or on a towel rack or a hanger in your doorway, whatever you have in your house that would allow you to make your skirt like this. So I'm just going to continue to kind of go. You can either start in the middle or you can go all the way across and all the way back. I know when my mom makes my skirts for me, she likes to go all the way across and all the way back. But the important thing is just to make sure that you've got 2 rows of this number 40 ribbon that are kind of overlapping each other. And if you'll notice here, I've left it, I'm not stapling all the way up here. I'm only stapling about halfway because if we end up using our pipe cleaners, we want a place that we can put our pipe cleaners for that assembly. And again, that's in that how to make a triple mum backer video if you want to see that. So let's put 1 more number 40 here. And then we're going to move on to number 16. And I'm pulling this ribbon from our skirt drawers. But if you just have them pre-cut, they're ready to go. That's another thing I get asked about a lot is my skirt drawers, and they actually are retired Martha Stewart cabinets, but we've actually found them all on Facebook Marketplace. So what I'm going to do here is, I don't know if you can see in the video, I'm going to kind of angle these 2 number 16s, and that way when I put it on here, it just adds a little bit of depth. It's something that we added this year. This is actually known, this method of the 40s and the 16s and the 9s, the way they are among our French groups, as the Maze method, because our friend Denise Maze at It's All About Moms kind of started it and showed it to us. And actually, she's the one that really convinced Rayanne and I to start adding more skirt ribbon and layers. And I will tell you, we got very positive feedback from our customers when we did that. They love how much ribbon and just the feel it adds to their skirt. And again, this, you could take 2 approaches. Some people are going to say it's not going to be seen, but then you can always see it as, if everything you're going to put on here, this acetate ribbon is going to be the most economical. And so it's really going to allow you to add a lot of kind of feel, if you can hear it, the girls love the way these skirts rustle. So we're going to continue to add, and you can change it up. You can do all of them angled one way, or when you get to this side, you can just do it this way. And again, this part right here is something we added last year. We always have put the 16s, but I used to put the 16s straight across, overlapping just like the 40s. But this year last year I added this, and I just kind of like it. It gives a little bit of dimension to our skirts, but you just decide which way you want to do it. So we've gotten all the way across on this. So then we're just going to start again, and we're going to add more. Sorry, I'm pulling from one of my other skirt drawers. I normally roll my little costumer kind of all around my room, but I can't do that and do the video at the same time. So now we're just going to go again, and with that overlapping method, we're just going to put it kind of right there in the middle. I know it's hard to see with my hands, but we're going to put it right there in the middle. And then I'm going to go back to black. I don't add a whole lot of white into my skirts. It really depends on the school and kind of what the girls' preferences are. But for a lot of them, I don't add a whole lot of white. And here's kind of my reason why. We go through so much white with seniors that I don't want to be, and we order way extra white than anything else, but I kind of try to preserve my white so I don't get to the end of the season and not have it. And that reminds me, when it comes to white, all white, if you're making a senior mom, on that row of 40, I would do 3 across. I would go down, back, and then down again, because Rain and I made a quad once, and we set it up, and it was like the light from the windows were showing through. And even with like layers, and even with all the braids, sometimes if it's an all white mom, you can still see through it. And so we always add at least 3 layers of 40, but sometimes we will also add a few more 16s here. So now we have our 2 layers of 16s, and we're ready to add our number 9 ribbon. This is something that I definitely learned from Denise, and we've been doing this for quite a few years, and I love it. And what we're going to do here, if you can see, we're going to angle it the same way, and then this is the number 9 ribbon, and then we're going to put one in the middle so that it kind of ends up angling in like a group of 3. And then we're going to actually, you can either staple this all together if you want, and some people, some of my mom friends even prepare this like this, and then we're going to just put it right here on the skirt in a group of 3. So let me grab another group of 3. I do use a little bit more white, I would say, with my number 9s in my skirts. And I'll show you, you don't have to, if you don't want to staple, you can always put it up like this and just staple it in groups of 3. That's kind of what I do, but I don't know if you can see on the video, it adds just a little bit of dimension here to your skirts, and just makes it even fuller, just gives it more of that really full effect. So let's just go ahead and finish going all the way across. We're only gonna go all the way across once with the number 9 because we are putting them in the group of 3. And again, all of this is completely preference. This is just how we do it, but I've had quite a few people ask us. They said, I'm sure you have kind of a methodical method. And I guess I do. I don't really want to like give you the number of ribbons because it's really just going to depend on the width of your backer. I would just think more across, and just filling up everything in that same method. And then that will get you where you need to be. Let's do one more group of 3. And then we will have this full. And I want to kind of, do you hear the rustling of that? I will tell you, the girls just love that. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to turn this around. And this is really more functional than anything, is we're going to take, on this one it'll be 3, but we do anywhere between 3 and 5, depending on how wide the mum is. But we're going to put honeycomb here on the back. And I don't know if you can see, let me set my stapler down. Right here, the honeycomb tends to kind of curl. And so we're going to make sure that that part that curls under is facing towards the skirt. That way when the girls walk, that piece is not going to hit their legs. But the reason we use this is when the girls walk, especially with these massive mums, if the honeycomb wasn't here holding it in, especially towards the bottom, all of this ribbon is going to go between their legs. And so what this honeycomb does is it just kind of holds it everything in place so that when they walk, it all it stays in front of them. It just makes it a little bit easier for them to wear. I mean, if wearing a big, huge, massive mum, you would think would be considered comfortable. Rayanne and I, and it's clearly preference on our end, we actually cut our honeycomb about 3 inches shorter, and I'll put a picture up so that you can see what it looks like than the rest of our skirt, so that that way we it's not showing on the end. So let me turn this over, and then I want to show you what we do with imprint ribbon. So the last thing we're going to do here is I'm going to add a couple strips of imprint ribbon to the front. This particular client is on the drill team, so I thought I would add some of our drill team imprint ribbon along with some football for Friday Night Lights. Of course, this is completely optional. Rayanne and I have kind of acquired a variety of sports and school-specific imprint ribbon and patterns as our business has evolved over the years, but I will say that our girls really do love it. It allows a little bit of personalization, and you will see the imprint ribbon kind of come through because it's the first, but especially when they walk, you will see it. So we add varying numbers depending on what level of mum it is, but for this particular one, I'm going to add 4. So let me give you a close-up of this skirt so you can see it all finished, and then we're going to quickly run through a garter so you'll see how we do that as well. So what I thought I'd do on the garter is this is just one of those 7-inch strips that would be for a 6.5-inch flower, and I thought that would allow you to see what we do, but have the video not be as long. So we do not put 40s on our garters. We just feel like that we like when it's on the boy's arm for them to be able to move around. So what we do is we start with 16s, and we're going to put 3 layers of 16s. Our garters are typically 18 inches, but again, with this skirt method, it doesn't matter what your skirt lengths are. You can use the same thing. So we're just going to do 3 rows of these 16. You can angle it out the way that you would want to angle it out. I'm going to go ahead, again, I always leave the top because we just never know if we're going to need to do something with that pipe cleaner method. And it also allows for the most of the lengths of the ribbon to show through. As you can see, I'm just kind of slightly varying over. With my garters, I tend to angle it a little bit and then have one straight in the middle. I just feel like the way the it's worn on the arm, that it helps a little bit to do it that way. So let's put our 3rd row in, and then what we're going to do is we're going to do the same groups of 3 in that number 9 all the way across as we did on our mums. And again, I'm not going to use honeycomb. We just don't feel like that's just a preference for us, but we don't put honeycomb on the back of our garters. So now I'm going to grab those same groups of 3. And again, we dovetail everything, including our garters. And we're just going to start here, and we're just going to go all the way across in our groups of 3. While I'm finishing this, I just want to remind you that we do have our skirt ribbon blog. So if you still have some questions after watching this video, or you want to refer back to that table, the table will be on our blog and will also be on our Pinterest if you want to pin that as well. And then I'll also try to put something in the community tab of our YouTube as well. And hopefully, I'm hoping that this skirt video will answer most of the questions that we've been getting. I would love to know, like, if you could give this video a thumbs up if you would like to see more assembly type videos from us. that thumbs up is kind of YouTube's way of letting us know, hey, we like what you're doing, and we want to see more of that kind of topic. So that kind of allows me to be able to plan my videos for you guys. And actually, if you'll see this one, it's kind of angled out a little bit more than I want it to be. And I'm afraid when I go to put my skirt on there, or braids and stuff, that would stick out. So I'm just going to change the angle just a little bit. And then of course we would finish this skirt off with the same imprint ribbon. I don't have a client in mind on this one yet, so this is our goal. You know, when you saw my little drawer with all of those prep skirts, those are for the ones I need to grab when I don't have skirts. In a dream world, I would have skirts available for everything, but of course, as we know, in the mom world, it's not always a dream world. I hope that this video has helped you, whether you're a DIY crafter trying to do your first mom or garter, or you're a homecoming business owner just looking for a different solution for your strips. I would say adapt it to what works best for your business, but I hope that we have helped you out, guys. I think that's it for now. Happy creating.